I'm Jody, and today I have a wonderful guest, Pat Valentino. I welcome you.
Thank you for inviting me.
I don't think there's anybody you have not worked with.
Oh.
You are a great musical director.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic pianist.
Well, we never feel we're as good as we should be.
Well, you are great, but I want to go back because you've done so much. I mean, it's going to take a long time to get through it. Why don't we start? How you even got started? Where were you born?
I was born in San Francisco,
and
my mother was a band singer in San Francisco. My father was the contender for the heavyweight championship of the world at the time. And actually, music in my life started with the influence from my mother because she was a band singer. She had an incredible 78 collection, and she was working all the time, and she, was enamored of all the great musicians at the time, the big band era, And
so did she give you lessons?
She taught us all to sing at a very young age. I know that both myself and I'm the oldest of 5, and then my next oldest, which was a sister, Suzanne, I remember Suzanne could actually talk and sing long before she could walk.
Really?
And she used to teach us, she didn't teach us little kids songs, she taught us great songs.
So you were singing as a child?
Yeah.
Wow.
And we used to sing duets, and we used to sing, and she had the most extraordinary phonograph system. It was one of those old kind that had 2 tone arms. One was the big, heavy iron tone arm that would cut a record for an acetate disc. It was a way of recording, so you didn't have tape. And so we were all on tape, not tape, acetate.
Really?
Yeah.
And then what got you the piano you play?
Yeah, I was a late starter on piano, though. I started as a singer. I won the Hollywood Bowl Award when I was 10.
10.
And then I auditioned for the Mitchell Boys. That was 1954. And then when I auditioned for the Mitchell Boys Choir in 1955, and I did 3 years with the choir. And we did everything from movies to live concerts to church work and I was on their first European tour, lucky enough to be on the first tour, which was in 1957.
So you were traveling all over at a young age?
We traveled, as far as the European tour was concerned, we didn't do much traveling out of California before that, because most of the work was centered around the studios and things. Like, the choir had done probably 200 motion pictures, different generations of the choir. We were on The Bad Seed, which was, of course, a starring role for another HPS.
Patty McCormick,
yes. Wonderful Patty McCormick. She was absolutely terrifying in that movie, and she's such a nice gal. I don't really know her, but everybody that knows her tells me she's
well, we all went to school together.
And you know her, really.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I had this incredible thing that crosses, and you don't know it until years later, and then suddenly we're at HPS.
So you were working as a child?
Yeah, from the time I was 10.
Where young talent went to school, we only had to go 4 hours a day so we could work.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. And that was a lifesaver for me. We can get to that later.
Yes.
But another HPS fellow who was a very good friend of mine in school named Tommy Nolan starred in this movie, which they changed the title to All Mine to Give. And it was a lovely story of orphans and they got the right one and all that kind of thing. And so we were on that soundtrack too. And then did a lot of TV. We did the Red Skelton show every Christmas, and various other TV shows. And then we did television and radio all over Europe when we went there, and did a private mass for Prince Rene and Grace Kelly.
Wow!
And they took a picture of all of us with them and used it for the brochure that was taken with my camera.
Really?
Yeah.
So all this time you were singing and traveling.
Yeah.
What got you to play the piano?
Well, after I was in the choir for about 6 or 8 months, I guess. It was always in my mother's mind to try and put me on piano and see if I could play piano. But she couldn't find a teacher she liked, because remember, her background wasn't classical. It was, although she liked some of the classics, but she was active in pop songs, the pop of the time, but then not classic pop,
right.
Gershwin, Cole Porter, that whole thing, Joan Carter. And so she called around, she found this guy that had 3 studios in LA here, one in Glendale, one in the Valley. We lived in the Valley. And she set up an appointment, and this guy was the classiest guy you couldn't imagine. He was so soft-spoken, and all this, and he played marvelous. And so I started taking piano lessons with him. And the difference between that background and what most people get as a background as a young pianist is that I was reading a melody line, and what they call chord symbols, okay? When I got into playing piano, I was playing songs, and great songs. I mean, songs my mother loved, like Duke Ellington, and, Jerome Kern, and things like that. And little by little, he'd show me how to do something else and how to fill in a chord in the right hand. Before I was only playing it in the left hand, and so things like that.
So you just naturally could play?
No, not really. I mean, I learned fast because I worked at it. But no, and I did that, and then what happened? What changed my life? I didn't know I wanted to be a music director or anything. I mean, I had no idea. No idea. And this is before HPS, and then in 1958, the year before I came to HPS, I was looking around. My friend Vince Morton, who's also an ex-HPS guy, was the assistant director of the Mitchell Choir when I was in it, and has been associated with it for his whole life, pretty much. And it was originally a choir boy himself. He's a fantastic pianist, and he did a version of Slaughter on 10th Avenue that was out of this world. I mean, it was like Franz Liszt, the way when he arranged it, you know, octaves and all this stuff. And I couldn't get near anything like that. I was astounded by his performance. And so I told my mother, I said, we gotta find a record of, you know, Slaughter on 10th Avenue, but a piano version. She says, I think Previn may have one. I said, is that Andre Previn? I heard the name.
Yeah.
She says, yeah. Well, it turned out he didn't have one. But in that time, my mother had a Wallensack recorder.
Oh, we all had that growing up.
Right. Tape recorder.
Yeah.
And this, like I said, it's 58. Little thing like this, but it weighed 10 tons, right?
That's right.
It's lead tubes. And I had a device which was something that you plug into the microphone input, and the other end was alligator clips. And you could put those on your television speaker in the back of your TV, and you'd only get what came across television. You wouldn't get any noise in the room or anything. It was like a direct line.
Yeah.
So I started recording people off of television, Duke Ellington, Ella Fitzgerald, these people that I liked. And one night, Andre Previn was on Dinah Shore, and he played, I'll never forget it, he played I'll Remember April. And it started out with this beautiful thing, kind of ballad, slow ballad tempo with the orchestra. And then it came to a kind of a pause, and then he went into this really fast Latin tempo, and I never heard piano like that. Really? That was completely beyond anything I had ever heard. And I'd grown up with Art Tatum records and Nat Cole, one of the greatest jazz pianists, and a lot of other people, you know. But I never heard anything like this. I never heard anybody so razor sharp, you know, in the right hand, for example. And how it was just astounding to me. So then I had to go out and buy everything I could find by Andre Previn, and he became my idol. And as I did that, I started to learn that wasn't all he did. He was an orchestrator at MGM at the age of 16. He was a conductor, symphonic conductor. He had done all these movie scores. He'd been nominated for Academy Awards. And that was, by the way, 58 was the first year he won.
So did he kind of motivate you to go
That was absolutely. I had to be like him. Yeah. And the more I learned about him, the more I realized I didn't know what the heck I was doing. So, I mean, on that level, you know. Yeah. So I told my mother, actually this was after I began at HPS in 1959, in the spring of 59. And oddly enough, I became very friendly with some of the seniors that year. They were seniors in high school, and they were going to graduate in 59, and I was in my last year of junior high school. So I had yet to do 3 more years at HPS. Early time for that. It was before the synth thing got really huge.
Do you realize we're almost up?
Are we almost up?
Yeah, we're almost up.
And I haven't said a thing yet.
Well, that's because I'm going to have you back.
Oh, okay.
Because, I mean, we've just hit, like, the first, 20 years of your career.
Yeah.
And we got, what, another...
Do we have to say how?
Well, no, we don't have to say how. Because we all graduate in 1990.
Well, we all know. We all know how old I am.
But I want to thank you so much for coming, Pat.
Thank you for inviting me.
But we're gonna do another show, okay?
Yeah.
Thank you. It was great.
Thank you very much.